Hello everybody, welcome back to the Oreaganic podcast. Today, I'm going to be giving you guys all my tips and tricks for making sustainable change in your life in a way that actually serves you so that you can be living as your best, highest, most organic version of self, not in a way where you feel like you have to have the discipline level of a Navy SEAL in order to feel like you accomplish anything. This is a conversation that's been had many times in the past, and it's going to be had many times in the future by many people across the world. I have learned a lot from my own experience, from listening to people online, from reading books like Atomic Habits, and I have a lot to say. So today's episode is going to be more general, but I also have a 9-step kind of tips and tricks for making change, and like the steps that I really think you have to go by in order to actualize any change in your life fundamentally. So I'll give you guys that. And overall, I'm not gonna lie, this has been another episode that I fucking just pissing myself off because I feel like I keep trying to do it in such a structured way and I actually hate it so much. Like, literally, shut the fuck up. I do so much better when I just talk in flow, and now that I am talking with like actual notes, it feels really freaking weird. So, you know what? I probably shouldn't even keep these little crash outs in the episodes in the podcast. Do I care? No, I don't really give a fuck. Here you go. Here's me being my authentic, most organic self because I'm literally getting pissed off at myself. Like, oh my god. I know I have so much in my head to give, but my fucking brain sometimes is just like, you suck and we're gonna have to say it perfectly or else it's worth nothing. Hence my episode about perfectionism and me still working on it. But anyways, not to give you guys a ramble, let's actually get into the episode. Welcome to the Oreaganic podcast. I'm your host, Reagan, mechanical engineer, lifelong athlete, and recovered overachiever, here to empower you to pursue your highest potential and live freely as your happiest, most organic self. Every week, we'll dive into topics ranging from personal growth, mindset hacks, psychology, and a blend of science and spirituality to give you all the tools you need to stop living on autopilot and start creating a life of freedom, meaning, and fulfillment as your most organic self. If you're ready to become the best version of yourself, then let's plant those seeds and grow. First thing, and probably one of the most important things that I have to say about making changes in your life, is a word that I think comes to mind for a lot of people when it comes to self-improvement, changing habits, becoming the best version of yourself, which is discipline. I hate that word so much. It literally just reminds me of the color gray, jail cells, Navy SEALs jumping out of helicopters. Like, I don't like that word. I have lived my life many eons ago at this point, but I have lived very, very structured schedules, life that requires a lot of discipline. I've done things that require a lot of discipline. I am familiar with discipline. I know her. I've been friends with her. I know what it takes to have discipline. And yet now, when it comes to making changes in a sustainable way that feels good, that actually serves me and serves my higher good, the word discipline is not one that I like to use. I much prefer the word commitment. Self-commitment. Discipline carries the energy of punishment, of rigidity, of shame if you don't meet it. Like, so many people just say, just have more discipline. So many people, young people, just aren't disciplined these days. You need to have more discipline. That's why you're not meeting your goals, because you're not disciplined. Like, oh my god, literally throw up. I hate that word. Self-commitment is something that feels like a nice, kind, little flowery rainbow of structure, but self-care, self-love, compassion, kindness, understanding towards yourself, listening to your fears in the way of trying to understand them, but then choosing better for yourself, choosing from the perspective of your higher self, your future self, the best version of yourself, because you know that you deserve what's best for you. You deserve to be living the best version of life that you possibly can, and you know that it takes some level of commitment to that vision for yourself, to that goal of living a better way of life in order for you to get there. Do you see the difference? Do you see the difference in energy between discipline and commitment? Because I certainly do. And I have integrated self-commitment a lot more than discipline, especially when it comes to things like New Year's resolutions and shit like that, where everyone comes up with a bajillion goals and they write down a bunch of things and they're motivated for 2 weeks, and then guess what? Neuroplasticity is a real thing. they don't make changes in 2 weeks. Your brain doesn't adapt to just sudden, drastic changes, and you go right back to where you were. This is a phenomena common. I've experienced it because it makes sense given the nature of our brains. We are always going to want what is comfortable. Your brain does not always want what's best for you. It wants what is most comfortable. And if you are most comfortable and feel the safest doing things like scrolling all the time, spending your time talking to people you don't want to be talking to, thinking ways that don't actually serve you, not prioritizing certain things you know you should be prioritizing, if you're comfortable with those things, you're going to keep doing them until you get to a point where there is more friction for you to stay where you are than it is for you to commit to change, where the cost of you staying where you are right now is higher than the cost of the discomfort of actually changing and committing to a difference, until you get to that point where, why did I want to say like the seesaw? Why did I want to say teeter-totter? What the fuck? But until you get to that point where the seesaw kind of changes and shifts in the direction of higher self, future self, making better decisions for yourself, rather than sticking with what's normal and what's comfortable just because you're used to it, you're just going to stay there. And this leads into the 9-step little structured thing I put together, which I'm probably just going to give you guys the overarching theme and then go off on each of them, because clearly, your girl does not, I don't really like scripted written structures. I talk best when I am just flowing, when I am not thinking about it, when I'm not stopping the stupid fucking GarageBand recording every 2 minutes because I didn't like how I said something based on the rigid structure I had. Like, literally stop. It's so annoying. I'm like getting annoyed at myself. I talk best in flow is the point, and I'm trying to figure out the combination of structure and flow. Seems like my entire life and the whole focal point of every single thing and any part of my makeup as a person is just bringing things into balance. So that starts with me. Who would have thought? Anyways, the first of my 9 steps for creating conscious, sustainable change is number 1, having conscious awareness of the fact that you have a desire to change, that your circumstances right now are not ideal and they are not matching where you actually want to be. This can come from a place of not enjoying where you are because you were actively suffering in some way. It doesn't have to be complete misery and despair, but you are not enjoying some part of your life. This was the case for me. When I was freaking blackout stressed all the time and just riding on overdrive 24/7 because I was just so used to always being stressed out. I hit a point that was like rock bottom in the stress realm, where I was like, oh my god, I might actually explode. Maybe, just maybe, I should reflect on how my life could be different and ways that I could change my belief system, change my thoughts and habits and routines to actually serve a better version of myself so that I can be living a better version of my life. This took conscious awareness of the fact that I did not like where I was. And you cannot change something that you are not aware of. Hence, you have to start just realizing, okay, I don't like this. This is not serving me. Whether it's a habit, whether it's a belief, whether it's a sense of self or a way of being, whatever it may be. Anything that you can change, once you realize, I do not want this thing to look this way in my life anymore, that is where real change can start. Now, once you have this conscious awareness, it's nice to be aware of something. It's completely different to actually make a choice to change it. This is where I feel like a lot of us get stuck in the mud, going from knowing that, like, oh, I should be doing better for myself. Yeah, I really probably shouldn't be choosing to starve during the week for work because I didn't make my lunches, aka me last week. Or I shouldn't be just, like, I don't know, on social media at this time, or insert whatever thing it may be. A lot of us know a lot of things that could be better in our life, like ways where we're like, I know better than that, but it's not really as consequential for us to be doing these things still. Like, there's not really that big of a consequence. It doesn't make that big of a difference in our lives, or like make it that much worse. So we just keep doing them. This is a prime example of having awareness, but not consciously choosing to change anything. And this conscious change, an example in my life recently, would be the fact that this week I have had lunches for myself during work, and I've been in the field for the past like 3 weeks now. I work a job where I can be office or field. It is a godsend. I love my job so much. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, God, for it. But point being, I can either essentially pack a lunch, which feels like it takes a lot of work, or I can just go grab food when I'm leaving the site. I leave site at different times every day, so like it's kind of different. I might be able to leave around, noon, more of a lunchtime, but I don't know. Or I can actually pack lunches and be prepared and fine, just eat on site and know that I'm good to eat everything. Did I do that last week? Absolutely not. Was I more miserable for it? Yes, I was. And I was in a stupid freaking victim mentality of like, oh, I have no food. Yeah, bitch, you didn't go buy any. What do you expect? This is a prime example. Last week, did not choose differently. I knew better. I know I should probably have food for myself. I should probably pack, but I didn't. This week, I said I am not starving again this week. I am going to the grocery store. I am making sandwiches for myself. I am making a salad. I am making food to meal prep over the course of a few days, and I am not going to be hungry this week. I'm going to wake up earlier. I'm going to make breakfast for myself, and I am doing it. I am doing it. This is the prime example of I was aware last week. Probably wasn't the best for me to like starve like that or be hungry or whatever, but I didn't care enough to choose differently. And at this point now, I'm like, girl, I am so done with that. You are better than that. You are a grown-ass adult. You can make your own fucking lunches. It's kind of the point. I have a mentor, Mads. Her account is Endora.inc, I think. Yes, but I look up to her for a lot of guidance in some ways, especially for making changes in your life. And one thing that she says is you have to get sick of your own shit. That is the point where you need to change. And this correlates to the second rule of making the actual choice to change, because until you're actually at the point where you were like so tired of the condition in which you're living, you're never going to change it. So after becoming consciously aware of things that you want to change, you need to actually, believe it or not, choose to change them. And this doesn't have to take that much. I used to think that it would take some philosophical breakthrough, some crazy moment in my life to like make all these changes and blah, blah, blah. Like it feels like change and changing yourself needs to be this whole like fucking ceremonial fireworks, like crazy thing. It's really not. Honestly, it's boring. It's probably why a lot of people don't do it. But the changes don't need to be huge. The choices just need to be decisive. So that's number 2. Step number 3 is to take an inventory of your current life. Where are you spending most of your time? Where's your energy spent? What are your habits? What are your routines? Like, what is the baseline that you are starting with? Something I absolutely love that James Clear talks about in Atomic Habits is changing your life based on your identity, not based on the outcome. A lot of people look to habits, especially health stuff is just the first thing that comes up. Like wanting to get more healthy or wanting to, I don't know, be more calm or peaceful or committed to meditation or something like that. But they still see themselves through the lens of identities they've carried for so long. I'm going to read directly from his book. Page 34. Your behaviors are usually a reflection of your identity. What you do is an indication of the type of person you believe that you are, either consciously or unconsciously. Moving forward, he says, on page 35, when working for you, identity change can be a powerful force for self-improvement. When working against you, though, identity change can be a curse. Once you have adopted an identity, it can be easy to let your allegiance to it impact your ability to change. This is so important. Fucking put me on highest mode of speakers here. Many people walk through life in a cognitive slumber, blindly following the norms attached to their identity. Examples. I'm terrible with directions. I'm not a morning person. I'm bad at remembering people's names. I'm always late. I'm not good with technology. I'm horrible at math. And 1,000 other variations. When you have repeated a story to yourself for years, it is easy to slide into these mental grooves and accept them as a fact. In time, you begin to resist certain actions because that's not who I am. There is internal pressure to maintain your self-image and behave in a way that is consistent with your beliefs. You find whatever way you can to avoid contradicting yourself. Oh my god. Literally explains the condition of like 99.999% of people. And it's not their fault, and I have been that person. I am not fucking magic over here with perfect habits, but just having that awareness of the fact that the stories that you tell yourself are exactly that. They're just stories that you tell yourself. They're not facts about your identity. Yet over time, telling yourself them over and over and over again makes them feel like facts. Crazy, crazy. It just gives you back so much more autonomy and makes you realize you have so much more control over your life than you think. The beliefs about yourself are like the most fundamental fact that shapes your entire life because it programs your brain as to what's important and what to look for to prove yourself right. Like he says, your brain will do anything to not contradict itself. Like that's just not how it rocks. Our brains are literally, oh my god, love them and hate them. Shout out. They need an upgrade from our primal software. Thank you very much. But anyways, step 3, inventory of your current self. You need to look inwards and reflect on the habits and belief systems that are actually shaping your life right now and call them into question. They're not facts. They're not facts. Limiting beliefs, things like that, beliefs about yourself or thinking that you're just bad at certain things, they are exactly that. They're just beliefs. They are not fact. In 99% of cases, obviously, use your discernment. There are going to be things that are permanent or factual about yourself, whatever. But most of the limiting things you tell yourself are not true. They're simply not. There is no fundamental objective truth to telling yourself that you were incapable of doing something, or it's just too hard, or I'm just not good at this, whatever. And I have done this too. I have absolutely done this too. I have been there many times in my life where I've said, I just don't have the time. I'm just always stressed out. I just always have too much on my plate. I can't escape this. It's just how it is. It's just facts of my life. Little did I know, these facts of your life are created by these things you repeatedly are telling yourselves, especially your habits and the ways you're showing up in your life. So honestly, if you take even like just a few days or a week or whatever to not even try to make changes, but just to draw more awareness to what you're actually doing with your life and become more conscious of like where you're spending your time, that can be the first step to actually making change. Because how can you change something or if you don't have any data to back up where you are most needing to give yourself attention or give an area of your life more attention, you know? So that wraps that one up. Number 4, related, but once you have the inventory of where you are right now, you need to get clear on the version of yourself and the place in life that you want to be. Because if you are a ship and you're just floating around and you're not really steering yourself in the right direction, you're not going to go anywhere. This is how I felt posting on Instagram. Like, I feel like I have just tried to stay consistent, experiment, whatever, but I feel like I have not given myself space to have any clarity to steer the damn ship. And this is relevant to making changes in your life as well, because if you're implementing good habits or changing small things, that it can definitely be beneficial and make an impact. But if you're making more of like a self-belief, self-identity kind of change beyond just kind of simple habits like less scrolling or, going to bed at a better time or whatever it is, those require a sense of clarity and a way to something to reshape your identity around to fit the mold of the version of yourself that you want to be and like the life that you want to have or the version of yourself you want to embody. You need to be very clear on what that looks like. And this is something that has tripped me up in different areas of my life in general because it feels like I hesitate sometimes to spend actual time getting clear on something because then it's like, oh shit, that's actually real. And it also makes me feel like, is this even productive to just sit here and actually just reflect on this rather than taking some action to make change? But I've realized that it actually does help. Like, taking action that's not really decisive or clear in guidance or direction isn't always better just for the sake of the fact that it's taking action compared to taking time to set yourself up to wait and reflect and pull back to actually create structure for yourself moving forward. I hope that makes sense. But having clarity is what gives you the blueprint for who you actually want to be. And you can get really specific here. Like, what would your days, living as your best self, your higher self, whatever it may be, what would your days look like? What do those small moments look like? How present are you in your life? What are those small decisions? What things do you tell yourself? What are fundamental beliefs you have about yourself, about the world, about people around you, about how things work out for you, about other people? What does that look like that's ideal? And another thing I forgot to mention was the kind of victim mentality. If you notice yourself having more of a victim mentality in certain areas of your life, that is a fantastic place to start for a belief that you can start to change, which I have certainly dealt with myself. To pull more from Atomic Habits, James Clear says you change identity by deciding the type of person that you want to be and proving it to yourself with small wins, small actions. We'll get there soon. But you need to ask yourself, who is the type of person who would get the outcome that you want? Who is the type of person that's living the life you want to have? Start there. Start with what the specifics look like and the outcomes that you want to have, and work backwards from there as to what it takes to actually make those decisions, get to that point in life. When you make decisions after getting clear on like what that future version of you looks like, when you make decisions from their perspective, that's what actually allows you to start living in that version of life that you desire. Once you have this clarity on who you want to be and what that version of you looks like, you need to get clear on what it actually takes to get there. And like, I think of this, I've heard this plenty of times, and then I actually came to realize what it meant when I did it for the first time in my life. The idea of getting clear on what it actually takes to get there is the energy of like, no, like actually, genuinely, what does it take? What would you need to do? How much money would you need to be making? Where would you need to be? What beliefs would you need to have? What does it look like? Like actually, genuinely, seriously, I'm not kidding. That's the kind of energy that I carry. And I have experienced this in thinking about how much money would it cost to be living that dream version of life? How much money would it cost to have a house right now? How much would I need to save to do whatever? These specific examples, sorry if the mic just shook. These specific examples are exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to the no, like actually, what would it take mentality? Because it's easy to say, oh, I'm going to do a workout 3 times a week. I'm going to hit these goals. It's easy to say generic goals, but those generic goals do not actually have a methods for becoming a real creation until you give them an actual plan so that you can show up for yourself in a way that brings them to life. You can use this for the example of workouts, of, I don't know, focus blocks, things like that. Until you schedule them, until you plan them, until you actually map out how it's going to happen and make it real, it's not going to happen. If you just tell yourself you're going to do something, you have a lot better odds of doing it if you actually put it in the calendar, plan out your schedule, make space, make time for certain things, certain habits, whatever it may be, workouts, etc. Actually make time for it, make space in your calendar for it, and you will give yourself much better odds of making them actually happen. All right, so we're on step number 5. Back through the chain, we have gone through conscious awareness of a desire for change, making the choice to change. Number 2. 3, taking an inventory of your current self and what you like, what you dislike, and the beliefs you carry and hold, the habits that you have, etc. Number 4, clarity on who and where you want to be in the future. And 5, what we just talked about, getting clear on what it actually takes to get there. The no, like actually, what does it take kind of energy. So, number 6, moving forward from there, you need to start small and prioritize consistency over big dramatic goals. This is something I've had to learn very deeply because I have had the idea that big habits take a lot of time and routine and discipline. I think it's just been wired in me from my days as an athlete of my whole life that in order for something to be meaningful or to show up for it, it needs to be really hard every day, something that takes some kind of struggle or commitment that is beyond just like what feels kind of, I don't want to say easy, but kind of. But the real kicker is that true consistency requires you to just show up every day given the energy that you have. And that's not to say like just be flexible, like, oh, I don't really have energy today, so I'm just not going to do it. No, it's the energy of, I barely have any energy today, so I'm still going to show up for myself by doing the commitment that I made to myself in a modified way that fits the fixed energy that I have for today. Good example of this is workouts. If you tell yourself, one of your commitments to yourself is I'm going to move every day, but you create this expectation that it needs to be a 45-minute HIIT workout every day or 4 times a week or whatever it may be, you are going to have a lot harder of a time hitting that goal than if you said, my goal is to move every day, to move my body and take care of myself every day. If you say that, you can do that every day, and that can take just 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be crazy. As long as you are doing it in some form every day, that kind of consistency and commitment in small ways is going to compound so much more over time than trying to kill yourself, spending so much energy fitting this perfect rigid structure of the example of HIIT workouts 4 times a week, 45 minutes, whatever it may be, etc. When you give yourself more space to be fluid, but still have the self-commitment and honor and respect of yourself, that you're still doing the habit, doing the thing, you will find that success comes a lot easier with actually reaching your goals. So that is number 6. Number 7, I feel like this is overlooked in a lot of advice that people give when it comes to changing and habits and transformation, etc. You need to show yourself commitment over punishment. We've already talked about that, like self-commitment rather than discipline. But you are not going to have as easy of a time adapting to change if you have the energy of punishment, rigidity, and shame. 3 words that all kind of tie into what I think of when the word discipline comes to mind. Instead, focusing on self-commitment, having flexibility, and showing yourself compassion even when you might slip up or you miss something or you have a hard day or something comes up or whatever it may be. If you hold these 3 fundamental things, commitment, flexibility, and compassion towards yourself, you will find so much more success with change because you cannot shame yourself into changing in a way that's actually going to be sustainable for you. Number 8, when it feels hard, which is going to, because our brains are really good at adapting to things and adapting to slow changes over time, but still exploring outside of the comfort zone and new ways of being is hard. It is something you have to overcome. It is a challenge. It is why a lot of people struggle to do it because it is by nature difficult. But when it feels hard, remember why you started. Remember why you started and think about how it would feel if you stopped. If you stayed exactly where you were right now, if you didn't change anything, if you were just letting yourself be exactly where you are for years and years to come, how would you feel about yourself? How would you feel looking back 10, 20, 30, whatever years from now at your life, knowing that you lived it in the exact same way that you've been living it all this time, when you damn well know in your soul that you have so much more potential, you can do so much better for yourself? Think about that, truly. And think about how proud of yourself you're going to feel by staying committed to making better decisions for yourself to better align you to the version of life and self that you know you are capable of achieving and deserve to be. The last one, best one, would be along the same scope of like the self-love, but you really need to celebrate yourself and actually acknowledge the accomplishments that you have, especially if you're starting small and you are making small changes or doing things that don't even feel consequential. You need to actually show yourself respect and love even in those small moments, and actually celebrate yourself, because that's how you train your brain, like literally classical conditioning, but that's how you train your brain to solidify new neural pathways so you can actually sustain a new way of being and change it to your new comfort zone, being that better version of yourself. If you don't celebrate your progress and your wins, you're just going to keep affirming to your brain that anything you do means nothing and it's inconsequential, which then makes you a lot less willing, consciously or subconsciously, to actually change. To go through the 9 steps again. Number 1, you need conscious awareness of the fact that there's something in your life that you want to change. Number 2, you need to consciously choose to change this thing and make a decision and a commitment to changing it. Like, not being aware of it is not enough. You need to actually choose to change it. Number 3, after choosing to make this change, you need to take an inventory of your current self, especially the beliefs that you carry about yourself and the habits that you have, where you spend your time, and simply just observe yourself almost from like a third-person perspective to understand where you're starting from and what you really need to change. And you need to remember that the self-beliefs that you hold are fluid. Your identity is shaped by your beliefs, which can change, and you can actively rewire your brain to hold beliefs that more shape you to be the person that you want to be. And you are not stuck being who you are in the exact situation that you are unless you believe that you are stuck. That's number 3. Number 4, clarity on who you want to be and how you want to be living, where you want to be in life. If you are not clear about the direction that you want to go, you're going to waste a lot of time just aimlessly searching, just floating around, figuring out what you want to do, but not really having an overall higher direction for doing so. Your energy would be a lot better spent if you just take time to get clarity on these things so that you can actually move forward with confidence, with small steps, knowing that you're taking aligned action with a goal and a direction in mind for the version of yourself that you want to be. Number 5, get clear on what it actually takes to get there. The energy of, no, like actually, where would 3 workouts a week fit into my schedule? How would I actually implement these new beliefs? What things would I do to solidify a new sense of self? Think about how it would actually look to bring it into your life. Like, genuinely plan for it and actualize the plan. Number 6, start small and prioritize consistency over big, ginormous actions, because real change is created in the decisions that we make in the small moments, usually not the big ones, because the small moments of presence are what actually shapes our life more than one-off events or bigger time blocks, etc. So think about the ways that you can make small changes and start like really small. Like, I'm talking small. Like, if you want to go to bed earlier, start by going 15 minutes earlier for a week and just keep going in that routine. You need to start small because our brains do not like massive change. You will automatically just snap right back to where you were if you try to jump a mile ahead of yourself, making all of these huge changes all of a sudden without warming up your brain to a slow, gradual adjustment to get comfortable with each new step as you go. Number 7 would be prioritizing commitment over punishing yourself for not being perfect. Flexibility, instead of thinking you have to abide by some rigid structure, and showing yourself compassion rather than shaming yourself for not perfectly meeting your goals. Number 8 is, when it feels hard, remember why you started and think about how it would feel to stay exactly where you are for an extended period of time. Probably not good. Think about it from the perspective of your future self looking back and how you can minimize having regrets and optimize your life so that you're living as your best version of self in the future rather than sacrificing your future for the comfort of the present. And number 9 is to celebrate yourself. I hope that you guys got something out of this episode. I honestly don't think I'm ever going to do an episode like this ever again, with trying to plan out like a focused structure and 9-step routine, blah, blah, blah. Like, girl, that, oh my God. You guys can probably tell in the fucking tone of my voice, that's just not who I am. We're trying new things. I didn't really plan well for this week. It's literally 9:30 on Wednesday, as in the day before this comes out. And I'm just so fucking aggravated. Sometimes I really just fucking hate how everything sounds, and then I want to just burn everything to the ground. Oh my God. You know what? You guys want to know something? Here's my commitment to self-change. Getting rid of the fucking self-hatred that I've carried in my life for years and years and years towards myself for not being perfect all the time. Slay. Girl boss. Gorge. Okay, anyways. Before I keep crashing out, I hope you guys have a splendid rest of your day or evening whenever you're listening to this. If anyone even is listening to this, because at this point, it feels like I am just floating on my own asteroid rock in the middle of fucking nowhere and no one gives a shit about this. I'm so not saying this for pity, oh, Jesus Christ. I'm unwell. Okay, go be your most organic selves, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for tuning into the podcast. If you got something out of today's episode, I would so deeply appreciate if you left a rating and or a review of the show on either Apple or Spotify to help put this podcast in more people's ears. Follow along with me on my socials, which are tagged below, and I will see you in the next one.